Welcome. My name is Chris O'Brien. I'm Associate Director of Admissions here at Boston College, and you are attending the second of 6 webinars highlighting some of the great features of Boston College that hopefully will give you more depth of information for some of the important things that will matter to you upon arrival, or you're comparing us to other schools and you want to see how some aspect of life might happen at BC because you've seen it other places. What you see on all these little camera boxes are some of the finest representatives of Boston College that we could find on a Tuesday night. No, but really, anyone that we could find. Because residence life is something that's really important. I think most people, when they think about the transition to college, they might not admit it to their friends or their family, but they're certainly interested in how their lifestyle is going to be, who they're going to live with, the setting that they're going to live with in, the vibe within the building, how clean it's going to be, who they're going to be sharing bathrooms with and shower stalls with, although you don't really share shower stalls. I should probably establish that too. But it's very important, and every college does residence life a little bit differently. And then it gives you a little bit of a sense of the community and culture, because you're not just coming here, Boston College isn't just a kennel that you stay in locked into a cage for 22 hours, then you go out and go to class. It's a living and learning community that we hope you're joining a part of. So we're going to talk about tonight is what to do upon arrival, the different freshman campuses there, what to pack, what you shouldn't pack, what you need to bring, what you should expect from your community freshman year. Who are some of the adults and mentors that you'll see in residence life? What are some of the choices after first year? What are some of the choices off campus? Because we do have an off-campus population at our school. What is senior living like? And then certainly we'll talk about food and dining and what are the options and what are the things that you need to look for here. So we have some introductions here. We should get to it right away because the real stars of the show are the students that have volunteered their time. And I'm going to ask them, to introduce themselves using their first initial of their first name alphabetically. So I don't know, I think it's pretty easy going around, we should know who's going first. So Carly, if you can say, who you are and where you're from, what year you are, what you study at Boston College, and then tell us a little about where you live right now, what that living style is like. And then I'll ask everyone a question as you finish that up, so we can get a little bit of a baseline in terms of residence life experience. And then if we have time, we'll be able to take some of your questions too. So as far as introductions go, Carly, why don't you get us started?
Hi, I'm Carly Mendelare. I am from Quincy, Massachusetts, and I'm currently a freshman here at Boston College, and I'm studying political science in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences. Currently, I live in Chevres Hall on Upper Campus on the main campus of Boston College.
Carly, let's talk about 10% of all the students who go to Boston College are from Massachusetts. I know Quincy. I didn't grow up far from Quincy, so I know that you have, in some ways, a great luxury of not being too far away from home. But in some ways, I'm sure you probably don't go home much. You probably take that for granted, and you probably stay on campus quite a bit. So now that you're almost done with your first year, being that you're relatively local, how much do you use home, and how much time do you spend on campus?
I am actually on the Red Line. My city is on the Red Line, so it's fairly easy for me to get home. My parents like to say that they can't really miss me because I'm always home so much. So I definitely do get involved on campus, but I enjoy the luxury of being able to go home for a home cooked meal or to have my laundry done. I would say that I go home depending on, excluding breaks, maybe once a month here or there, but I do go home for most breaks or long weekends because it is so close.
Okay, good start, Carly. Well done. Okay, who's next?
Hi, I'm Ella Underwood. I'm from Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. I'm currently a freshman studying biology in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences. I'm also on the pre-med track, and I'm hoping to get a minor in French studies. And currently I live in Cushing Hall on the Newton campus.
Fantastic. And certainly we're going to talk about the Newton campus versus the upper campus. But let's talk a little bit about when you opened your residence selection. Did you know much about the Newton campus when you opened that folder up? And what did you think? Did people tell you what to think? Did you find out research about it? Tell us about maybe you had a hope, maybe you didn't really care where you lived. Talk about when it was revealed to you that you lived on Newton. How did you feel and how has it been?
So going into housing and just entering my freshman year at BC, I heard a lot about the Newton versus Upper kind of debate on, who thought which was better. And I kind of psyched myself out. I thought, it was impossible for me to get on Newton. I was like, more people get on Upper, so I'll probably be on Upper. So when I found out I was on Newton, I was a little bit surprised, but honestly, throughout my freshman year, I've grown to love it. And I don't think that I, would have made the community that I have now if I wasn't on the Newton campus. I really enjoy it, and it's definitely not as far away as people make it out to be. So yeah.
So it's been a good time up there on Newton campus, Ella. Fantastic.
Yes, very.
Thank you for the report. Okay, moving from the E's to the J's.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is John Anthony Sacali. I am a senior from Bridgewater, New Jersey, studying finance and marketing in our Carroll School of Management with a minor in history in our Morrissey College of Art and Sciences. Like I said, I'm a senior, so I've had 4 years of housing at BC, 2 of which I've been in like residence halls, typical resident, and the other 2 I've been a resident advisor, RA for short, and that's where I'm currently in now. I live in 90 St. Thomas More. It is a sophomore dorm on lower campus. Like I said, I'm an RA there.
John Anthony, were you really nervous about living like with a roommate in a dorm, like living away from home? Was it something that was really concerning to you? And whether it was or it wasn't, was there something about it that either a fear that never really came about or a surprise, something that was nice that you never really considered about living in a community style, living in a dorm style situation during your time in college?
Yeah, good question. I think that was definitely, I had some fears going into it. For background, I'm the oldest of my family. And so I didn't have an older sibling to be like, hey, like, what is it actually like having a roommate? I had my own room at home. So that was definitely a new experience for me. But I think coming into it, like I said, I was a little bit nervous, definitely loved it. And I think my biggest surprise when I was like, oh, I thought this would be so much more of an issue than it was just like getting sick of them. I think people had this fear of like, oh my God, I'm going to get sick of my roommate by November and I'm like, going to like hate them and everything. But I will say it's nice at the end of the day, you come back, and I actually, so my freshman year, I lived in a triple. So I had 2 other roommates, and getting to be like, hey, how was your day? And like have a conversation before bed. It's those like little things you don't think about, but once you're in college and you've had a crazy day with, 3 classes, 2 clubs, you've gotten lunch with these people, getting to unpack that with your roommate is really nice. And so I was definitely surprised about that, and like that I always got to have those conversations before bed.
Do you subscribe, John Anthony, to that theory that there's like a difference between living with your best friend and like having someone good to live with? Like, do you find that there's a difference between maybe your best friend you couldn't live with well, but maybe there are people that you can live with well that are good friends, but maybe not that best friend, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. Like my first 2 years didn't live with my best friends. I was like, I love my best friends, and I've said this many times about them, like we would not live well together. And so being able to just like live with like a mutual friend or someone who's like a little more distant, but I still like get along with, is good, because then you see all of your like best friends throughout the day, you come back and you still have another friend to talk to and have, again, those conversations with. So definitely think if you don't end up living with your best friend, it's not the end of the world, because you can have different living styles.
Perfect. All right, listen, we're rolling right along. We've got a lot of momentum. We're doing well. Kate, let's keep it going.
Hi guys, I'm Kate. I'm a sophomore from Nashville. I am currently an art history major in the Mercy College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm currently in a 6-man in 90 St. Thomas More.
Kate, let's talk about roommates. There are many ways that Boston College students can utilize to find a roommate. Can you talk about what which one you utilized, and what are they all for people to feel comfortable about finding someone that they could live with in the first year?
Of course. So I actually found my roommate through Instagram, through the class of 2025 BC Instagram page. And I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed getting to know her over the summer. But I do also have friends who went random through BC, who ended up becoming best friends with their random roommate. So there's different processes. You can also probably use different social media like Facebook or whatever. But yeah, I think there's so many great ways to find a roommate, and everyone is good.
Moving along pretty well. That goes to you, Olivia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Olivia. I'm a junior from Vernon Hills, Illinois, and I am studying finance and business analytics in the Carroll School of Management with a minor in Hispanic Studies in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences. And I was offered graciously 4 years of housing when I was admitted at BC. So I spent my freshman year on Newton campus. I lived in an 8-man my sophomore year in 90 St. Thomas More, and I now live in a 6-man in 2150 St. Thomas More Apartments, and will live in another 6-man in Ignacio Hall my senior year. So I've gotten very lucky in my housing.
Well, that's true. Olivia, I know you a little bit, read your application back in the day. And, you know, I know you're from the Midwest where a lot of your friends went to Big Ten schools and other public schools where fraternities are a big deal, sororities are a big deal, and that affects housing, that affects where you live and how you live. And people on this call probably know that Greek life isn't a factor here. So, you know, in its place, you know, I'm guessing at this point you have some friends, you've lived with some people successfully, you can walk around campus with pride, knowing that you haven't ruined your reputation. So talk about the lack of Greek life and how that affects your housing choices and maybe some of your social choices.
Yeah, so I definitely think I like to say on tours and panels that we replace Greek life with clubs here on campus. And so you find your community more or less based on your common interests. And I think that forms a lot deeper of friendships because it's not just who gets picked in what sorority or fraternity, but it's more so what you get to decide you want to do and what you value. And so I have met my roommates through intramural sports here, and they invited me freshman year during the pandemic year, which was hard to meet people. And even then we played 4v4 women's soccer against other girls, and they're my roommates now because of that. And so I really appreciated having clubs because you're able to find your roommates or find your friends that you know you can't live with either, both ways. And so I think that's really nice to have. And it just expands your social network so that when you go through each year and you're trying to figure out who you want to live with or who you want to be friends with, 8-mans and 6-mans seem scary to find so many people to put into a group together. But I think that's how you find them, is through those clubs or organizations that you have common interests in, and that will mean that you'll have common values as those people, where with Greek life, it's not necessarily a match in terms of that.
Go through the housing process, right? You evolve, your friend groups evolve because of things that you just said. And that's not a bad thing. That doesn't mean that you hate the people that you don't live with from freshman year or hate the people that aren't in your current friend group. It's just the evolution, right? You branch out, your network has more tentacles and you make more friends, and that's a good thing, right? That's not a bad thing. You're not eliminating people, you're just adding more people and making different choices about who you want to live with.
Yes, I've lived with different people every single year, and my direct roommate from freshman and sophomore year, I still love, and we're great friends. And sometimes you just decide it based on, she was going abroad her junior year, and I wanted to make sure I knew the person I was living with the whole year. And so you make decisions, and it normally does not affect your friendship afterwards. If not, it makes it stronger. And so I think I appreciated being able to navigate that and not lose people along the way. And so that's something that I like with the BC housing system, is that you can have somebody freshman and sophomore year, and then junior year when you're deciding what you want to continue on. It just depends on how people like to live sometimes, and that is perfectly okay.
Perfect answer. Thanks, Olivia. Hidden cleanup, last but not least. Let's go. Let's hear your story.
Hi guys, my name is Sunrai. I am a freshman studying biology in the pre-med track at the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences, and I also live in Upper Claver Hall.
Excellent. So one of the questions already came in, and you seem like the best person to answer it. Let's talk about laundry. How often might be a personal question, But talk about doing laundry at Boston College. That's the first thing that someone said tonight. How do I get laundry done? Tell us about it.
For upper, we have laundry room in O'Connell House where I majority do my laundry. I think each hall has their own separate laundry machines that you can do it in, but I personally do it in the O'Connell Hall. It has a lot of laundry dryers and washers, so I do it there. I forgot to mention that I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. My bad. But yeah, I personally do it every Thursday. I have no classes on Thursday, so that's the perfect day for me to just relax and do my laundry.
Thursday, perfect day to do laundry, I guess. That seems as good a day as any. That's fantastic. All right, so let's get a couple things out of the way. Let me ask my friend from Nashville. Kate, did you pack and bring a lot of things with you? Or did you get a lot of things when you got here? Like, did you make a Target run once you got to Boston? Or did you find that you brought a lot of things with you from home?
So it was actually a little bit of both. I tried to pack as light as possible, but obviously freshman year, you don't really know too much what to pack. So I ended up bringing a lot of suitcases with my parents, and then doing a Target run on top of that. I would just recommend bringing whatever you're comfortable with. I obviously was comfortable with a little more stuff, but the rooms in freshman year are pretty big, or at least big enough to hold what you can bring. So if you want to bring a bunch of stuff, you can. If you want to do a split approach like what I did, that's great. Or if you just want to bring a little bit and then do a Target run, that's also possible.
Okay. Carly, how about an example of something that you never would have thought of bringing that everybody had and you had to go get? Like, was there something that if you could do it all over again, you would have packed right away and purchased right away? I mean, talking to a lot of people who are going to be freshmen, no matter where they go to school, what's the essential item that maybe people don't usually think of that's important to have?
So this is something I think people normally think to pack, which is a laundry hamper. But the mistake I made was I bought a mesh one that was not very strong. And when you are carrying a full laundry hamper of laundry down the stairs to your dryer or your washer or dryer or out of your dorm across the street to O'Connell House, it starts to rip sometimes. So I would say I had to, going into my spring semester, buy a sturdier laundry hamper. And I think that would be my biggest advice, is make sure it's something that you can carry when it's full of laundry easily and without it breaking.
Ella, can you talk a little bit about how you use the space in your room? Do you study a lot in your room? Do you not study a lot in your room? Do you guys as roommates agree like how to use the space? Like, I think when people think about, where they're going to do their work, there are other places that people do work but their room, but sometimes people really want their room as a place that they can not have to worry about work and they could be themselves and let their hair down a little bit. So where do you do work? Do you do work usually in your room?
Yeah, so most of the time I'm actually in the study lounge. I think almost every dorm building has a study lounge and a TV lounge. So I'm either in one of those pretty much every night. Sometimes I find an empty classroom to study in on the main campus, but since I live in Cushing, it's the smallest dorm and I know pretty much everyone in my building, so we kind of all get together and study in the study lounge every night. My roommate and I usually don't see each other until like the morning and when we go to bed, because we're both off doing lots of things with our friends and just studying different various places. So sometimes we run into each other, but usually I study in the study lounges.
John Anthony, you lived in a lot of different buildings, are they generally clean? And like, what's the method? Like, does BC come through there quite often? Does BC just respond to major situations? Do they do both? I mean, again, you've lived in different settings. So talk about, are these buildings maintained well, cleaned? Is BC responsive to things that are broken? What's your experience been?
Yeah, I've had a really good experience with like the BC cleaning crew here. That's a benefit of like living in university housing. If they clean all of it for you. And so like the public bathrooms, for example, that's a really benefit. You don't have to clean the communal bathrooms. There's going to be someone in there cleaning it, disinfecting it. Especially during COVID, they were really good with that, keeping that sanitized. I remember my freshman year, so I lived in Shaw House, which is a living learning community. Happy to talk about that if we want afterwards. But we had a bathroom and it was 10 guys on the floor. We shared it. And I remember like our sink broke and I put in a work order, which is basically when you go into your portal, you submit a picture, say this is what happened. I remember I came back after class to grab something and use the bathroom and it was fixed like that quickly. And so I've had really good experiences with that. They've been super responsive.
Olivia, I think they still have in each residence hall, like a government, like, people that are in charge of, programming and rules and regulations of a building. And, we want to talk about resident assistants. I think a lot of people are familiar with the term and we could talk about their role in our buildings, but I think there's still a residence like hall association in most buildings. Do you know much about that?
Yeah, so in each building, they have the Residence Hall Association. And so every year there will be people from your hall that will run for president of your hall or different positions. And as far as I know, at least my freshman year, a lot of times they were the ones that planned the different like activities and bonding events that your hall can have. So my freshman year, one of the big ones at the end of the year, along with the resident advisors, was the scavenger hunt. So on Newton campus, we have a lot of open fields that you can like go and explore. And so they had a scavenger hunt around all of the buildings and we all ran around for an hour and tried to spot like different things that they hid around campus, and came back, and my team actually won, and we won like an electric scooter to share between all of us. But there were different prizes you could pick from. We just decided we wanted that. So I think that's just a good example of what that association does, is that they schedule different events throughout the semester where you can meet the other people in your hall and have kind of scheduled bonding when it's difficult as a college student to kind of organize your schedules to all align sometimes throughout the week. So that's as much as I know what they do, but somebody else might know more.
No, that's pretty good. And maybe I'll pick up on the role of resident assistant in the building. And John Anthony, you're here because of your wide array of knowledge, but I also know you're an RA. So I thought having some expertise of what the plan is for a resident assistant in the building, and when you were a resident assistant, how did you accomplish that?
Yeah, you mean in terms of just like fostering community or what do you mean?
Absolutely. I mean, that's your primary role. I mean, you're not just there to enforce discipline. You're there to, help in the transition to college, be there as maybe the first person to assess, students that are struggling with one area or another in their career at BC. I would think that those are some of the more important times that you had as a resident assistant.
Yeah, no, definitely. Going off of Olivia's point about like the programming in the halls. So I said I'm a sophomore RA, and so part of my job as RA is to put on like fun events for my halls. I've asked my residents in the beginning of the year, what do you want to see? What like fun events can I hold? And so like last year, for example, my hall all like loved Raising Canes, which like I did not have that near me in Jersey, so I never heard of that. And I had a whole like Raising Canes night where I because they give us money like residential life, and I have a budget for the whole year, and they say go put on 10 programs for the year where you can have carved out spaces to meet with your residents and talk to them about how they're doing, catch up about their day. And so that's really good. I definitely recommend you go to those programs because like it's free food and it's just a good way to chat with your RA. And then in terms of just like conflict management, that's another part of the role. So like I want to say that you will have conflict with your roommate. That is natural. I feel like just accepting that first of all, and not realizing that it's like your fault or their fault, because conflict is a very natural everyday part of life. And I think that's what's a really good beneficial part of being in college and having a roommate, is that you learn like, okay, our living styles may clash with this one thing. How do we actually talk about it and communicate? Because that's what you're going to need in life when you're working with coworkers, when you're living with a partner or a spouse. And so learning how to have those conversations early really help out.
Senior, they come up as a first-year student, and it's great to have one person to be sort of that first contact, because that could be what motivates someone to seek more help, or just to look within, or to have better conversations with their roommates or with their friends. That's a perfect way to talk about it, John Anthony. That's great. You guys, your first year students have kind of, after your first year, you go into sort of the next selection, like where are you going to live again? So can you talk, Isan, can you talk a little bit about what's next? So we're just about done with freshman year. How do you go selecting who you're going to live with? How are you going to live in your second year?
As a sophomore, you do have a lot more options when it comes to housing than as a freshman. Majority of the time, people find their roommates through their friends. They just decide whether they want to live in 8-man, a 6-man, or a quad. And they, when housing selection comes out, they choose which hall to live in. And you have your designated time and your pick time when you can choose. Personally, for me, I'm doing final selection, and final selection is when you rank which dorm you want to live in the most, and our Res Life accommodates and tries to put you in there. But majority of the time, people just like go with their friends and try to book a room in Walls or Ruby or whatever they decide.
Knows where they're living next year, right? Perfect, good stuff. All right, so let's talk about what's on a lot of people's mind, and that's the bathrooms. So how about a volunteer from our first year contingent, Carly? Bathrooms well maintained, and are there tricks, things that you should do to prepare for sharing a bathroom with 24 other women or men, as the case might be?
Yeah, so the bathrooms in most residency halls are cleaned and sanitized every morning by someone who comes in and does it as a professional cleaner. I would say a big thing to keep in mind is their communal showers. So it's always a smart idea to have shower shoes, some sort of flip-flops or slides that you just wear in the shower to keep things clean and sanitary. Shower caddies are also a great option just to carry everything and make sure you have everything you need. Also, for your bathroom in your residence hall, because it is communal, you use your same card and code that gets you into your dorm to also get you into your bathroom, which means that it is relatively private. But it also means you can accidentally lock yourself out, which I have definitely done. So to make sure you have your card on you to get into the bathroom and back into your dorm.
Both. That must have been really tough. All right, so let's start to transition away from living on campus and start talking about some of the other things that when you're on campus for 3 or 4 years, what are the other very important things that support your time on campus? And I used to, I've been in admissions for almost 30 years. And when people used to ask about the food, I used to laugh at them and say, aren't you more interested in other things than the food? But then I was like, actually, the food's really important. You're living there for 4 years. You got to eat the food. So I've changed my tune on that. I think that addressing what dining options are and what our plan is and how students manipulate and work with our dining plan is really, really important. So let's start with Kate. Talk a little bit about the dining options at Boston College. And as a first year student and then as an older student, what kind of ways did you manage the dining options?
All right, so freshman and sophomore year both, if you live in the residence hall, you're gonna get a meal plan with that. BC does a la carte dining, so there's a select amount of money we each get per semester, and all of the food has a certain cost. So instead of having a certain amount of swipes each day, you can go in whenever you want and get whatever food you want from any of our dining halls on campus. And then obviously, as an upperclassman, if you live off campus, you can elect to not have a meal plan and just make your own food, or you can opt into the meal plan and use the dining halls on campus.
Ella, does Boston College have good dining options? Is the food good?
I think most days, yes. I mean, depending on how picky you are. I mean, I think it's pretty good. They have like usually three like hot options that are like made that day, and you can go online to the website to see the menus for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I think that's really good. And then there's also other options in like refrigerators. There's like vegetarian options, gluten-free options, stuff like that as well that you can find for every meal. And then something unique that I really like about the BC dining halls is late night. So some of the dining halls have this thing called late night, which is from like 9 to midnight, 9 to 11 p.m. And they serve like fried foods or just like snack foods, but it's kind of like comfort foods, and it's also a really great time to socialize with your friends as well.
Going to college, you probably had a cafeteria in high school. Did you have low expectations? And as BC met those low expectations, has it been a surprise? Are there things that you look forward to? Are there things that you wish we had? You know, kind of give me a full circle, like, you know, does it satisfy what you're looking for? Is it interesting enough for you to always have options? Is it limited in ways? You know, give me your expert culinary opinion.
I don't think I'm much of an expert, but I know that I'm picky when it comes to eating. So I guess that helps me with this. But I will say that one thing that I was very worried about is like the variety, because I noticed my freshman year that I would tend to go to the same like staples every single meal. And so I would have like pizza, or if they had like a certain chicken that night, like every time they served it, that's what I was going to eat. And that gets old eventually. And when you're stressed and you're studying and you just want food from home, and my family cooks from home a lot, so I was like missing that. I think that was one part where like, that's just a natural part of homesickness I get every single year, but I really love how the dining hall workers, they really care about you and you become friends with them. So, like, Dorita on Newton, I still remember her. She worked in Stewart, and she gave me, like, a cookie one day when she knew I had a final and she saw that I was tired, or they just really care about you, and so one of the things they like to do to spice up the variety, so that's good for me, is they have different events based on different holidays or like just big worldwide events. So this past fall during the World Cup, they actually had for a couple weeks different programming where they had different foods from the countries that were playing those weekends. And so I really loved that because I got to try different foods that I normally would be too scared to do so. And it was just different than the normal meals, and those were the BC chefs that came up with those recipes themselves, so they feel a lot of pride when they put food out for you, and they wanna make sure it's of good quality. So I've always thought that the food is very fresh, and for being a picky eater, I love the variety they have with those different events, and they have different things for, like, holidays and religious holidays as well, for people with dietary restrictions on those days, so I appreciate it when I need different food.
Anthony, what if you're tired of the food on campus? Are there local options? Are there popular student options? Like when you need a break from even what would be considered good college food, cafeteria food, whatever you want to say, like what are some of your go-tos around campus or close in the city? You know, what do BC students usually do when they're want to break from the food or want to just go someplace different and have something to eat?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of like little local restaurants right across from Lower Campus, so right near the T stop. If anyone's been to campus, can visualize where that is. They have a Pliable, if anyone's heard of that. It's kind of like smoothie, acai based bowls, really popular along the shore in the Northeast. So we have one of those there. They have this place called El Polon, really great Mexican food there. They have a flatbreads place. There's a Subway within this convenience store there. There's a Dunkin' there. And the best thing is this is like right across from Lower Campus, like a literal like 2-minute walk from my dorm right now. And so it's nice because when you want to, like you said, get off campus and like, you know, get outside the dining halls, but you don't want to tee into the city or like go super far, it's right outside the campus. And so you can kind of get the best of both worlds for there, get the variety without traveling too far.
This might be a hot topic, but I do love the chicken and two sides. That's my staple. I always get that pretty much every single night.
And do you find yourself hanging out in when you eat, you know, BC, if there's any, I mean, there are probably many things that are wrong with our school, but, you know, some people complain that we don't have like your stereotypical college student center. But I find that a lot of people stick around after they eat and hang out in dining halls. It's one of the places that people tend to have conversations. Is that what your friends do? Like you finish eating and then you're kind of hanging out till your next thing? I mean, is that what it is for you guys when you eat?
Yeah, 100%. I think after we finish eating, we just like sit there for a couple 30 minutes, maybe an hour, just talking about how our day was. And I think there's a big community and big just like being in dining halls and just eating there and just talking. It's a big thing, especially during late night. There's so many people in the Lions halls, also known as RAT. We just go there to study, or even just like be there just talking all night.
Other healthy things on campus like workout. Are any of you pretty frequent, habitual recreation complex users? Just raise your hands. Excellent, excellent. So a couple of I can call on you. So Carly, talk a little about the recreation complex at BC and how you use it.
Yeah, so we have a fairly new and very impressive rec center. It's 4 floors. It has everything that you could need, from weights to a pool and a hot tub to various treadmills and cardio machines. But my favorite way to use it is the workout classes. I actually just today took a spin class, which is stationary bike cardio. And the instructors for these various workout classes are BC students, which is so nice because you go in and you go into this class where it's all BC students. A BC student is your instructor, and it's a great way to make friends, stay active. And a lot of them are 45 minutes to an hour. So within busy college schedules, it's also a great opportunity to get a quick workout in and still not, spend multiple hours at the gym and overwhelm your schedule.
If it's just sedentary and about books and about eating mozzarella sticks and hanging out with your friends, it might not be conducive to really healthy living. Do you feel like for you, can you carve a pretty healthy path out in terms of what you eat, how you sleep, how you use your living space, how you utilize workout facilities or classes like Carly said? So you can, it's not very difficult to carve out a path for healthy choices in a lot of aspects of your life.
Yeah, definitely. I think like you can carve that out and not have an issue with that. I think getting a schedule and being on a schedule for yourself helps you hold yourself accountable to that, and also just like stay healthy. So like, for example, I know our dining hall closes for breakfast at 10:30. And so I know that like, okay, I'm going to wake up and have breakfast by 10:30, which means I'm going to go to bed, not at like 3 a.m. And so like those kind of things like force you to be in a good schedule and maintain good habits. The gym closes, for example, at 11:45. I like to go during the last hour because it's the least crowded. And so just go from 10:45 to 11:45 on the weeknights. And so having those like little, like, I don't want to say like life hacks, but kind of just like, okay, this is when I do this, helps you maintain structure. Cause I'm the type of person where like, if I have a long, gap of time in my schedule and I'm not like doing something or like consciously taking a break, then I'll just like waste it away and I will get into unhealthy habits. So it's just good, I think, to maintain that schedule, especially as a first year student.
And one I was just talking to the people down in Res Life about today is there are some students that choose in their first year to be part of a living and learning community at BC. So first I want to see if any of you chose that in your first year. All right. Well, 2. I'll go start with John Anthony first, then I'll go to you, San. Talk a little bit about what that is and which one of the living and learning communities you chose.
So I did the Leadership LLC, which is called Shaw House. It's on Upper. The reason I applied for it was I saw they sent an email out about it, advertising it. And I thought, okay, there's 20 people, 20 freshmen in this house. And so it literally is a house that's been converted into a residence hall. And so our lounge was like a living room, and we actually had a kitchen for the house. And I really like that aspect of it feeling really like familial and just like getting to know the people like really, really well. Because again, there was only 20 of us in the house. So I applied, got in, had a great experience with it. Like my 2 best friends to this day of senior year were from that house. I was, like I said, I was in the leadership one. And so we did these like monthly Monday seminars where we had to like read this text about what makes a good leader, what are the pillars of leadership, how does your leadership style change based on who you're leading and like what environment you're in. And so I think it was great because I learned like that, like leadership stuff, but then the benefit that I really liked was getting to be in a really like small, close-knit community.
Um, yeah, I
Go
would
ahead,
agree. I would agree. I think I live in the healthy learning community. And it's honestly just a place for people with like-minded mindset just to hang around and just have fun. It's about meeting new people rather than just living in like I live in Claymore Hall. It's like being there, you're more likely to have friends that have the same mindset and just yeah, I would really recommend it.
Kate, since you're new to Boston and certainly you've been here for a year and a half, I think with living on campus, eating campus, all these things we're doing on campus, we want to make sure that we have a safe campus and that students make good decisions in terms of their own personal safety. Do you feel safe on campus? Are you familiar with the resources that BC has to keep you safe on campus?
Yeah, I definitely feel safe on campus. I don't think there's ever been a time where I've ever felt unsafe. If that did happen, I know we do use like a blue light system. So we have these little booths around campus where you could go. There's also Eagle Escort, which I've actually used a couple times in the past, working at BAPS library, and then the buses to Newton, shut down and I need a way to get back to campus. So you can call Eagle Escort and a person will come pick you up, regardless of what situation you're in, 24 hours, 24/7, and they will drive you wherever you want to go. So I use that just to get home from studying, but regardless of the situation, that's a resource that people can use as well.
Need a prescription filled, you need to get dry cleaning done, you need to, you mail a package, like these little things that come up that are important. Like, how do you do that? What are the things that are very close to BC? Are there random things that you've had to do this year that, oh, it wasn't so far away, or that wasn't so bad because either BC had it or it was very close?
I think a really popular place, there's a CVS. There's one in Cleveland Circle, which is near the lower campus, and then there's also one in Newton Center. So living on Newton, I use the one in Newton Center a lot. I think just going to CVS for little things, like it's almost like a grocery store, sort of convenience store, so I can go there for anything I need. And also, if I need like a prescription or just I'm sick, there's also the University Health Services on lower campus, which most people end up having to use usually in winter, but it's really easy to get a prescription through there or just any sort of medication that if you can't get it yourself, they can provide it for you. So I think that's really helpful. And then just like exploring little shops within Newton Center or just within the city of Boston with your friends is also a really great experience.
We do have an off-campus community. Most of them are juniors. Most of them are friends with Olivia. If again, she does have friends, I bet you many of them are juniors. So Olivia, can you talk a little bit about like where those students are, how close they are, and how connected they are to campus?
Yes. So when you're a sophomore, they understand that a lot of students that are offered 3 years of housing, most go off campus their junior year. And that's also the year most students go abroad. So they kind of do that on purpose because when you're gone, you won't be off campus for more than a semester. But they host off-campus housing fairs each year for those students to find different places to live. If you're someone that wants to live in a house with 17 other people, you can find one. If you're someone that wants to live with only one other person or by yourself in an apartment, you also can find that. Or if you want the in-between, there's options for all of them. And most of my friends, I would say, live only about a 5-10 minute walk from me. So we have another bus route that goes to all of the popular off-campus locations on Commonwealth Avenue. And so that's how those students get to class most days. They'll hop on the bus and they can see on their phones through an app when it's coming, and then they get on it and get off of it. And that's how they get to and from class every single day. But I would say the same houses every single year and the same apartments are constantly refilled with BC students. So you can go and visit them and you'll see current juniors in those houses. You can see how they live. And it's really fun. People like their first kind of sign of adulthood that year to learn how to buy groceries for themselves, do laundry for themselves, like maintenance. But it's very safe, and most of it are operated by like BC, like not landlords, but you know what I mean? Like people know that students are living there, and it's all students around each other. So you can pick your choice on how many people you want to live with there, but it's very popular and safe. And I love seeing my friends over the weekends at those locations.
I'm talking to, one, two, three, a lot of you that have friends who go to other colleges. Maybe you visited your friends. So I think, for the people that are watching this, either they're, again, have decided to come to BC or contemplating that, like, how does BC housing residence life options compare to your friends? Like when you visit your friends at other schools, are you saying, oh, this place sucks, BC is so much better, or this place smells, or I wish we had this at BC? And you don't have to name any other places. That's not what we're about. But do you feel like our situation, living on campus, dining on campus, being safe on campus, is comparable or even favorable to some of the friends that you have? And again, without naming any places, especially if you've gone on many trips to see your friends, which maybe some of you have. So have any of you seen enough places from your friends or from your experiences that you can comment about how we stack up to other places that you've known about? Just raise your hand and let me know about it. Go ahead, Sam.
Personally, for me, the colleges that I've visited, I think there's a lot of similarities with housing and food options. But one thing that I'll say is when I go to my friends' colleges and their dorms, I don't feel like the community is as much prevalent as it's here. In my hall, I know pretty much every person that lives there, and I'm friends and I'm close with them. But when it comes to my friend, they don't really even know their roommates, or they don't even talk to their roommates, which just seems so odd to me. So I think the community aspect of being in BC is so important, and I haven't seen that in other colleges as much.
I guess I can go. So a lot of my friends went to SEC schools back in the South. So I do visit them, and a lot of them are in Greek life and live in their sorority or fraternity houses. And while that's great, I just really like BC because I feel like it is overall just more of a community. Like I have friends in other sophomore dorms here, like Walsh and Vandy, versus they just kind of stay within the Greek life and the Greek community, and it's very segregated in that sense. So I've really enjoyed having just dorms where everyone is living with each other. We all have one communal dining hall on lower where we can all interact with each other versus living in a house, eating in a house, and only seeing people from that house.
And Kate, while we're at it, you're obviously in your dorm room. Give us a quick spin.
Okay. I'm actually at work right now. Not
Oh, where are
work-
you?
I'm not working, but I just went to the office to have some quiet space. I work for a laundry service here at BC, actually.
You're in the laundry room?
I'm in the laundry room here. I can give you guys a quick tour.
Oh, and
so
we'll see other people's laundry. That's gross.
no, it's all, everything's gone actually, but this is the laundry service you can do if you don't elect to do your own laundry at BC. So there's a semester service, and you get a certain amount of, you get a bag, and you're allowed a certain amount of weight per week of laundry. And obviously I'm here, so I'll process that and just get it sent off, and then the laundry will be done, and you can just come here and pick it up. And I'm in the lobby of 90 right now, so it's very close to the residence hall.
Kate, I've been doing these virtual panels since COVID. Seeing the laundry room is like my favorite thing I've ever seen in one of these virtual
Yeah.
panels. You've made my
It's-
night. Thank you so much.
No problem. It is funny. A lot of people don't know about it, so I'm
No.
glad that everyone on this panel gets to see and know that this is a resource for them if they would want to do that.
All right, that's a free commercial. John Anthony, you're in your room. How does that, give us a spin? How does that look?
Okay, so it's very bare because I never put up like posters. Then I was like, we're this far in the year. We're just gonna, So this is, there we go. Can you see that? It's nice and spacious. Again, benefit of being an RA, you get a single room. So that's really nice. Going back to the question about why that's a little bit different. One thing I just want to add, like we say community numbers, I think really like speak to that. And like, okay, what is the quantitative data? 95% of seniors at BC live on campus their senior year. I think that speaks to like, it is a really fun place to be. People want to live on campus. And that's how it compares to other schools where you're in a dorm, you're in an apartment off campus. No, the seniors are here on campus because it is such a beautiful, fun community place to be.
On some of the choices you made in living at campus, be having a roommate, taking advantage of the resources, whether that's a resident assistant, the residence hall council, working out on campus, eating on campus, feeling safe and secure on campus. This has been helpful. And all of you opted to put your email addresses in your camera boxes so the conversation can continue, whether it's about living and learning communities, whether it's about coming from the South and coming to Boston and having to get a bunch of winter jackets, navigating through your freshman year, going into your senior year. Let's have the conversation continue. Any of you that want to keep it going can reach out to any of the panelists here or reach out to me at Boston College. Guys, you did a great job. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time tonight, and all the people that are viewing that can't comment certainly would comment about how well you did telling us about life at BC. So again, this is number 2. Tomorrow, we're back at it. Our third virtual panel of the month of April, we'll talk about academics. We'll talk about study abroad and research, applying to graduate school, internships, and all the things that our students do on the academic side of the house, all of which wouldn't be possible if they didn't have a good situation to live in. So again, thanks tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I see you tomorrow. And friends, I'll see you on campus tomorrow morning or afternoon too. Thanks so much for tuning in. Good night, everybody. Thanks, guys.